Live. Welcome, everybody. How about it? Welcome to USfanTV on this wonderful Wednesday night. Been a while since we've been on a Wednesday. Coming to you live and, I don't know, possibly clear through the internets. We skipped last night because of the Concacaf Champions League game, but we're here tonight. Joining me is our oftentimes present TJ. And TJ, do you want to introduce yourself and your special guest?
Wow, really? I need to be introduced to this? I think I'm on more times than not nowadays.
Pretty much.
But yeah, we do have a special guest with us tonight. If anybody's watching, all 9 of you, we do have Mary Grace with us.
She sort of waved, I think, as you lifted her up. So
yeah, probably, but she's probably going to throw a fit in a few minutes. So
nice.
In the meanwhile,
joining us in a few minutes should be Pat, but his personal problems kept him off air.
Pat forgot,
I assume
Pat forgot to take his fiber. Yeah, he forgot to take his fiber one, so he's busy
exactly
clearing his brains, I guess.
So tonight, we will talk about CONCACAF Champions League, little Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore presence. We'll talk about what the hell else will we talk about? I've forgotten already what we were going to talk about. We'll talk about I should stop rambling and just say Bruce and Jurgen Klinsmann discussing what it meant for the U.S. to miss the World Cup. Probably touch on Dortmund's destruction at the hands of Schalke. And some Schalke fans actually wishing that there was more presence of a certain someone from our side of the pond. And on that note, why don't we jump into it with a little CONCACAF Champions League? What did you think of the game, TJ?
Well, I mean, you know, when you give up a goal in the first couple of minutes like that, you're off to at home, or you're off to a bad start.
A raging start.
You know, after everything lined up really well for Toronto, they come in there, they beat Tigres, they beat Club America, and here you've got Chivas at the bottom of the table, and you go out and you crap the bed against Chivas pretty badly. 2-1 scoreline, pretty indicative, or should it have been worse? I mean, I get it. The second goal was a complete, I believe Kurt Larson called it Bono's boner, but
yeah, it was definitely a mistake there. But yeah, Chivas looked more like perhaps you would have expected them to look, maybe when you thought about the beginning of this tournament. Not so much maybe by the end, unless they have the referees playing for them. But the real danger now is with away goals too. Like, what do you do here? The chances of going to Mexico City and coming out with a victory. Well, Guadalajara, I guess, not actually Mexico City, but going to kind of the heart of Mexico and coming out with a victory. That's hard
you're
asking a lot.
It's hard enough to do if you're up a goal or anything else.
Yeah,
the place will actually be full probably for the first time in forever. It's the only silverware that Chivas is playing for this year because they're pretty well buried in the bottom, mid to bottom of the table in Liga MX. You know what? And you're going to have to overcome not only a hostile crowd, a hostile environment. You're going to have to overcome the referees. You know they're going to be bad in Guadalajara. And you know if you get a goal back and make it level, they're going to start into all the hysterics, all the theatrical stuff that they do, and it's going to get a lot harder. I think you come out and you play your game. You don't come out and you don't try and sit back and defend. I don't think you go over the top to try and chase the game at that point. You come out and you play your game. You try to get one. If you get one at halftime, you're in good shape. If not, then in the second half, you start probably chasing the game a little bit. But it's going to be a lot to overcome. It's amazing that, speaking of crapping the bed on that one, Alexi Lawless, America's soccer Twitter's favorite villain, came out and pretty much buried Chivas, and Chivas decided to give him the old finger with that one. So I don't know if you saw that or not. His little.
No, I hadn't, but
yeah,
I'm never sure if Alexi is just doing it strictly for the I don't know, to play the bad guy in a sense. I mean, he's absolutely, as people have said for I don't know, a decade, soccer's Don King, but he is he kind of revels a little bit in being the uh, I don't know, the instigator or the guy people love to hate. So part of me thinks it's just a bit, but I don't know. So I'm not too surprised that Twitter attacked him. I mean, that's pretty much what happens anytime he says anything.
Well, he came out and pretty much handed the trophy to Toronto. And although on the contrary to that, I was watching what is it, Sports Center Deportes or whatever that show. And they were talking about it, and they basically talked about Toronto having no chance at all. That Chivas was going to roll them, and obviously the truth is somewhere in between. But it was interesting to hear both sides getting into the game is good. And if you wanted the game on US TV, on English on American TV, could you find it?
Good luck.
So
good luck trying that one. Yeah, I mean, Josie almost scored. Interesting for a guy who it looked like was puking multiple times during the game. So you feel kind of bad for a guy in that position. But hey, it's also, I guess, a positive thing that he wanted to keep playing.
Yeah,
with as sick as he clearly was.
And
that's a good sign, I guess, for Toronto, in that you figure he should be better than by the time they face them again. But as we've said, it looks a little too late. But
I guess Alex, I see him in the chat box. Couldn't even find Univision. In English, it's go90.com. If you go to their website, it'll be like one of the 2 or 3 on their splash page. It's not too hard to find if you know to go to look to go90.com. Anyway,
TJ's comment, TJ Salah's comment. Josie Altidore is the greatest U.S. player at almost scoring.
No, TJ, no. Wando has that title.
He's the most notorious, that's for sure.
I mean,
who's the best almost scorer of all time?
I think this is a question for when if Pat finally shows up. This sounds like it's a whole episode in itself. So,
yeah, we can discuss that one when Pat shows up too. In the meantime, so Jurgen came out and said that he feels like the U.S. has been knocked back years in terms of its soccer progression because of the failure to make the World Cup. I tend to agree. I mean, I think I've come out and said, this could be a generation's worth of destruction because you miss not only the visibility that the team got and the continued progression in terms of fan base and whatever that would have occurred that really only occurs or that significantly occurs or significantly grows during World Cup periods. You also miss the guys who like Bobby Wood once at 9 years old or whatever he says he was, saw this thing he'd never seen before, didn't know what the hell it was. It was a World Cup, and it was like, oh, this is cool, and then decided to take up soccer. You miss that right window of kids who could see this as suddenly a thing to try or something exciting to go for, and maybe it is one of those kids who has the 1 in a million shot that he's awesome, but he's never tried it and he's never had the chance or whatever, and never been aware. You miss that, and you run into the problem that we had for much of the last probably 5 years, which is that there was no next generation of guys. And that's a long way of saying I tend to agree with Klinsmann. Bruce Arena has since come out and said that he doesn't see this as a loss or as being pushed back years in terms of progression. He sees this as a wake-up call. What do you guys think of the difference of opinions there?
Well, let me start here, Pat. Welcome, Pat. By the way, nice to see you.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, Hat guy is present.
I am.
And as usual, Chris, you're wrong. You're always wrong.
I try.
You are
I'm also arrogant.
Well, this is true. Jurgen's trying to make it sound like he's, this is a life ending. Jurgen's wrong. You're wrong. It's not. What it was a mediocre generation coming to an end. That's all this was. Those that are Bobby Wood types, I'm sorry, that's 15 years ago. You don't think anybody doesn't know about the World Cup in the United States at this point? We're not 15 years ago. We're 15 years later.
The point isn't that no one knows about it. It's that those kids in that like 8 to 12-year-old range are suddenly seeing it.
Kids that are 8 to 12 year olds.
They know all about soccer, but they may not know about the World Cup yet. They may not remember the last World Cup.
The kids that are 8 to 12 now that are getting into soccer or whatever, what they're seeing is they're seeing Lionel Messi. They're seeing Cristiano Ronaldo. They're seeing Manchester United set soccer back 50 years. They're seeing Arsenal crap the bed anytime it matters. They're seeing Bayern. They're seeing, Christian Pulisic and Dortmund get absolutely blasted by Schalke. I mean, they're not. And then maybe some MLS in there, probably Liga MX over that, but it's not setting it back. And I don't think Bruce Arena's right that it's a wake-up call either. It was a crappy generation that was on its way out that couldn't get past, the younger guys, we know the talent's there. We've seen it in glimpses already. We know that's what's coming. But I don't think it's going to – yeah, you know what? It sets it back. It sets it back 4 years. I
completely agree with TJ on this. The kids are still going to practice. They're still playing soccer. Soccer is now popular. The United States men's national team, to us, is a big deal, but to most people is somewhere on their soccer spectrum, and they probably like a club team in Europe more, or they probably like a Liga MX team more, or something. It's not like we all stopped watching soccer when we didn't we're still doing this show somehow. So we'll be fine.
Another point I didn't make now, but I have made in the past, I will agree with Ivan.
Plus, it's going to 48.
Who says there are those kids who could play for the U.S. or Mexico.
That is a good point.
We've now lost for the time.
That's a good point.
I think there's at least another. We were nearing parity there, and that's gone. I mean,
but for your
all the comments about the real U.S. national team is Mexico. Nobody was saying that 7 months ago, 9 months ago. Back then when, I don't know, we still considered the U.S. to be a powerhouse in CONCACAF, no one was suggesting that, sure, Mexico gets better viewers or viewership. But no one was suggesting, they're America's real team. That's all come out in force since the failure. And the problem is then, there are a lot of guys who could look at either country. Now, and are they looking at the U.S. as seriously now?
By the failure, you're referencing the U.S. missing the World Cup, not the day you were born, correct?
That day, well, I will say that day is pretty bad for the world. I mean, and bad for soccer too. I mean, Hillsborough.
True.
We lost Arlie Ermy on your birthday this year. It's always got to be something.
We did, yeah. Yeah, Arlie Ermy, Titanic, Lincoln.
Now, Chris, but my question kind of actually put it back on track a little bit is that everybody says, well, Mexico is America's real, the United States' real team. That's because there's nothing else. This is called Fox trying to recoup every dollar it can that they're going to lose. And that's all it is. It's the same as with Ancestry.com or whatever marketing it. It's trying to recover money that they're going to lose. That's all it is. When the U.S. stops crapping the bed in 4 years, it will be U.S. overdrive. You'll still hopefully go back and see another good set of commercials or something like that. Hopefully by then Fox will have figured out how to actually broadcast a World Cup.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Well, I look at Fox and I look at how well they did the U.S. Open with golf and going, well, the first time they're usually pretty bad, but they get it better the second time. So, hey, maybe this is the one to miss. I don't see soccer dying in. I don't see soccer dying in Italy. I don't see soccer dying in the Netherlands or any. Because they didn't make the World Cup. Sometimes it happens. Mexico was a fluke away from missing the World Cup 4 years ago. The U.S. is a fluke away from being in this World Cup. It happens.
Yeah.
That's part of what's cool about soccer. I mean,
and
you can
in a lot of ways,
be
that's
the dominant team and lose a game.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, that's Bruce's point too. He's saying it's a wake-up call, but in the end, there are all these other teams that didn't make it too, and it's not a given that you make the World Cup every time. I think he's underplaying it because of the position he was in making this happen, and I think Klinsmann is, perhaps overstating it. He's pulling a Klinsmann kind of because now, hey, he got out of there. He may have overseen part of the like one of the legs being knocked off the table, but he didn't see the table fall, so he can say, "Oh well, I didn't do it."
I'm with you, Edgar. I can't watch a Mexico game on Fox. I only understand. My Spanish is okay. I get about and soccer announcers tend to talk quickly, so I get about 50% of it. If I'm listening in Spanish, I would much rather listen in Spanish than listen on Fox. Fox does a bad job. Mostly.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I agree with you. I could probably do about a quarter to a third in Spanish. I'm still that much further behind you in Duolingo, and all I can find out is I'll watch the Libertadores that when it's on Fox, like it is tonight. I mean, so I don't know. It's just I think it's much ado. It's Jurgen doing much ado about trying to make Jurgen sound important because I think he's still trying to find himself another job. And then you've got did I freeze?
No, you're here.
Okay. And then you've got Bruce trying to defend himself when Bruce. I somehow I'm starting to think Bruce and Jurgen that's a reality show that should be done, or they should just be filmed kind of like grumpy old men. That's really what you're coming down to with both of them at this point.
Part of me wonders if a little bit of it has to do with Bruce's comments that he was in talks to replace Klinsmann 6 months before it happened.
Yeah,
Klinsmann now having his feelings hurt, he wants to dump a little on Bruce. Bruce clearly isn't taking any of this in stride. He's not being the bigger man at all, if he ever was. But when Cameron came out and said something like Bruce was immediately there to shoot back. So I think some of it, it's two guys who are both protecting their legacy and trying to knock someone else's legacy in order to maintain theirs. Little CYA work or something.
Is Jurgen going to get another job at some point? I mean, he doesn't have to. He's got all that cash flowing in from the U.S. Soccer Federation, but
wasn't he?
Well, technically speaking, I mean, he did make a little bit of money as a player. I'm sure he's doing all right.
But I mean,
he said that he could, and that he may take one soon.
Wasn't he in the running for England's job at one point?
Yes,
supposedly,
that was. I think just because that was he was a name and the papers wanted to run with it. But yeah, do we think that Jurgen's is he just doing the California thing right now, or has he actively been looking for a job and has not found one? I wonder.
Probably a little bit. I'm guessing the truth
Maybe
is
both.
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
somewhere in the middle on that one.
He'll never admit that he didn't get a job. So, not that anyone necessarily does, but certainly I don't see Klinsmann doing that.
What else? Are you hosting this show now?
I am.
We're at a transition point here where I don't even know what you guys have talked about before.
We talked about the Concacaf Champions League. Yeah, what did we say that we were going to bring up to discuss with Pat when he got here, TJ?
Oh God, I don't even remember.
yeah, we were like, that
you've already
be a good thing.
So my thought on that real quick was
this.
I said that Chivas would win, but I predicted it would be a lot more of a shit show than it actually was. They just outplayed Toronto. They were just better in the snow in Canada. So there it is. I mean, maybe it means more. It was my thought because, Chivas, if they don't walk away with the trophy and they're what, 12th or 13th or something in the table, it's looked at as a failure. But if they win this, that's a big trophy. That's something. Whereas for Toronto, it's still MLS and they won a bunch of stuff already. So I'm sure it means to the players, but maybe not to the organization as much. But yeah, I think they just were better on the field yesterday, like tactically. And they just looked better. They looked crisper. Toronto for the first part of that game looked off. So
any team that's giving up a goal, minute and a half, 2 minutes into the game, whatever that was. Not a good sign for your performance.
A crystal knocked reference in the chat that gets heavy real fast.
That's
I'll give you
weird.
a quick story on that. It's one of my favorite things that's ever happened in television news. Chris, you know this story. I won't say who, but if you live in Chicago, you may know who did this. News anchor is ad-libbing something about it's around Christmas time, and he means to say Christkindl Market, the German Christmas market that they have in downtown Chicago. Instead, he says, "Looks like people are enjoying the weather out at Kristallnacht," which is
and for
a little
those of
different.
you who don't know what that is, it's something the Nazis did. Just go look it up on Google. Very, very, very different, very, very bad thing. Terrible thing to confuse with like a
it was
happy event.
Yeah.
Edgar asked, "Are you guys surprised that even with the U.S. missing out, the U.S. still has the largest number of tickets purchased for the World Cup?" I'm not. We do it almost every year. Almost every time. I guess
we're a land of immigrants.
What's always dumb is we're a land of immigrants. Like almost every country,
it's not like they're all U.S.
largest
fans.
city, like the second largest collection of that population is somewhere in the U.S. So people conflate the that to mean that it's Americans, like I should say, fans of the U.S. national team going to watch it. No, just because they're American doesn't mean that they're going to watch the U.S. national team. Just like everyone says, the Mexican national team is is America's real team. There are lots of people coming from the U.S. going to see other countries at the World Cup. For the same reason people come here. It's pretty well-off country, so you come here, you probably make some money, and now you can go travel back to your homeland or go represent your homeland in another country for a World Cup.
Robert asks if Chicago local sports media messed up Zlatan's name. Not that I saw, but I don't remember
I didn't see any like the first game in LA.
He was hilarious on Kimmel last night, by the way.
I still haven't seen it. You must tell us about it.
You could tell that what I love about Zlatan is he does the full "you're welcome," the full I have just made your life better by being on this show. And he just does it the whole time, but he's just kind of laughing at himself when he's doing it. He knows it's a gigantic joke. But nonetheless, it's
a bit and he makes a ton of money doing it.
Yeah, it's his bit and he sticks with it and it's funny to me. It's sort of like what Cristiano Ronaldo does, except I think he's being serious.
Oh, I've
never seen Zlatan stand on his tippy toes in a starting 11 photo. To be the tallest.
Or sell a $300 blanket with with his logo on it, and he's just posing shirtless in bed under it. I think it's a $200 blanket, to be fair. But
to be fair, yeah. If you haven't seen Zlatan on Kimmel, go find it. I saw it on Kimmel's Twitter this morning. It's very funny. Zlatan's, and just the fact that a MLS player is on a national talk show in the U.S. is insane.
Well, he's an MLS player in name only. He's right.
I know, but when was the last time this occurred?
Probably Landon Donovan.
Maybe Landon, or I don't think
Pulisic. Maybe Golden Balls. I forgot about it, but probably Landon Donovan at some point. When they run out of people, they'll probably throw Alexi Lalas on there for some reason or another. You know what? I love the fact that it's just it's a bit for Zlatan. You can tell there's a reason why he took less money to come and play in LA, because number one, it's LA. Number two, the sponsorship of Visa, Viza.
Yes.
It's like he gets it. He knows where he's going to make some money, and he's going to be able to play soccer in some really nice weather to do it. And then he had to come play in Chicago, the weather we had this weekend.
Yeah.
The weather that was so bad that when you said you could take my tickets, I said, I don't think I'm going to do that. It was that bad. Did you end up going, TJ, or no?
No, I had to go.
Army, right?
Yeah, I had to go start counting things.
Army training, sir.
Yeah, it was open the door and you're just like, nope, turn around, close it. Yeah. Is it snowing? It's snowing in the city, Alex? I don't think it's snowing in Darien, but I can't
It's
tell.
snowing in
My
Milwaukee.
my cars are covered with snow again, so or at least
We got a few inches tonight.
That's not what she said.
Yeah. Zero Anonymity says, "What the fuck is Bruce's legacy?"
It ended in 2002.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I was gonna say he'll always have 2002.
But
And
yeah,
then-
that's.
I think the only other legacy of Bruce Arena is him after winning MLS Cup drinking the bottle of champagne during the press conference. That would be straight from the bottle. That might be about it for Bruce Arena after that.
The only benefit to us missing this World Cup is that I can remember, speaking of Bruce Arena, in 2006, I was so hyped up and then so disappointed, thanks to Thomas Rosicky and all of the other folks who scored on us and then the refereeing during the Italy match, that it kind of ruined that World Cup for me. This World Cup will not be ruined. I'm already disappointed that the disappointment is done. It's already happened. Now I can just enjoy it. So that's what I'm telling myself, at least. That's the benefit to missing, is that I won't be sad during this World Cup. I'll just be able to watch it for the sport. So, Chris, talk like a Fargo person.
I was just like that, laughing. I don't know what that means.
Because you're from Wisconsin, are you supposed to talk like a Fargo person?
Oh, I don't know.
Northern Wisconsin, they really do talk like that.
There are people who talk like that. I mean, I'm not originally from Wisconsin. I don't consider that.
You say that, but like you've been there for most of your life.
I've been here for more than 30 years now, I guess. Well, off and on, but for more than 30 years now.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that makes you a Blues fan, and that makes you a truly troubled soul, tortured soul.
I don't think I brought this up on the show. I've now talked to both of you. Every team I saw play in the last year totally screwed themselves and missed the playoffs or like whatever the championship of their sport.
It's every like single you're controlling team. Them with your technology woes.
Every single damn team.
Did you ruin somehow Barcelona? Do they lose?
I mean, they did bomb out of the Champions League. You wouldn't have expected them to lose in the quarterfinals.
Not to Roma, no. So now, if you're a fan of Barcelona, say they go on to win, was it Copa del Rey, and they win, they're going to win the league.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still considered a successful year?
I don't know.
Or is it only successful if Real Madrid doesn't win
Champions League? I think it's a successful year for Barcelona.
That's true. Yeah. Should Real Madrid win the Champions League, I think that would probably burn, especially because of what it'll mean to Ronaldo and
because he doesn't have
the rivalry there.
Ego. Yeah, he does not have an ego at all.
Ronaldo?
No. Level-headed, calm, cool, collected. So, what else is there to talk? I saw a mention earlier talking about what our initial thoughts on the Champions League semis. They're coming.
Fargo's in North Dakota, guys.
Mm-hmm. It is Eastern North Dakota. So.
Should they just combine the Dakotas and just call it Dakota?
There was a push for that,
Minnesota,
wasn't there,
Canada,
a few years ago?
Well, we could give it to Canada probably.
I'd be all right with it.
Yeah,
Canada land.
South Dakota's pretty. The western part. I was there over the summer.
Why?
Coming back from that Denver game, back when the U.S. still had hope, we went up through South Dakota, went to Mount Rushmore, the Black Hills. It's pretty. It's a good place. Eastern South Dakota and then Minnesota they're both basically Iowa.
Yeah.
So,
did you go to Waldrug?
We did, and that was not something that I would do again. It was a thing to do.
I went there probably 25 years ago or something.
I got the bumper sticker and the free ice
water.
Saw
the Corn Palace along the way.
We didn't go to the Corn Palace. Thought about it. We decided not to stop.
Welcome to U.S. road trip.
The giant ball of twine. Where's that? Is that somewhere?
That Minnesota. It's a Weird Al song, I think.
Are you sitting really low, TJ?
Well, it's a little easier when you see what I'm holding.
I see that you have a small child, but it's just like your chin is like
People have asked if you stole a baby.
I did not steal a baby that I know of. It's possible. I don't think so.
That happens.
No, they let me out of the hospital with it. They kept letting me in, so baby
They're
low
good
jack
with the
did not go
wristbands
off
these days.
Yeah, baby low jack didn't go off, so
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I had that feeling like leaving the house, like before we actually had the first child. I'm like, what if I get what if there's a mix up and I don't know? But then you realize, you can tell.
Well,
DNA test, TJ. Let's do it like Springer style. Or that's Maury. That's more Maury, isn't it?
It's a Maury thing, yeah, I believe.
What else do we have to talk about? I wasn't here, so I don't know what you guys have discussed.
It's now been announced that the U.S. will play England November 15th, I believe.
Jack's testimonial match.
And 5 days later, it's unclear of the location, but Italy says we're going to be playing them.
You know what's funny? I saw that I have a link on my phone to the U.S. men's national team schedule, and I saw the Italy match on there yesterday, and I didn't remember that being announced at all. So
it still hasn't been confirmed by U.S. Soccer. Italy has announced it, though. So
that makes complete sense. Yeah, let's just we don't need to announce it. It's not like news travels in this day and age, so we can hold off on that announcement to any time we want. No one will find out, even though it's on Google. So, but the England match is at Wembley.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know a location had been announced. Or maybe I had heard that. Interesting. The presumption is that all of the top guys in Europe will be there. I think that's a fair assumption. But I've also heard it then predicted that like Harry Kane and Dele Alli and some of these other guys will all be playing for England. Will they? I don't know. It's FIFA
certainly
break,
they could, but England doesn't like at that point in the cycle. Perhaps England would want to give them a break and go with somebody else for a friendly. Yeah. I mean, I would, but who knows? So, what's weird? Is this going to be the longest? And this is probably not a discussion for air, but let's do it anyway. Chris, for you, is this going to be the longest you've ever gone in your adult life without seeing the U.S. men's national team in person? Because I don't think you will this year.
Probably not.
So it'll probably be the Gold Cup next year.
In the last 10 to 12 years, this may be the longest period. Let's see. I could pull up my cap list.
Probably don't need to do that on the air.
On my phone. I won't pull it up on air, but I can pull it up while we talk. And
why don't we let's sit in dead silence while you let it load?
Exactly. There was a period around. Oh, I didn't go to a game in 2011 or 2012. So
I don't think I did either. I was moving and had young.
So it was a little less than 2 full years there. It was about like 19 months, maybe 20 months, something like that.
Pat, can we have Chris try to do that? Because I think Chris versus technology might make a great episode on itself, just in and of itself. Like,
he would
eventually play out live.
Yeah, I mean, he would yell, he would grumble, and then he would yell.
He'd swear.
And then he would swear, and then he would break something, and that might be the camera or whatever. It's anything's possible. He used to break so many PlayStation controllers that he'd have to like have another one in stock because he would just
buy them in pairs.
He would smash them to bits, and he'd get the generic ones because it was getting too costly to like get the fully licensed ones. So he would just smash the shit out of them playing like Madden 04 or something.
No, I never really enjoyed the Madden games.
You had the college football games.
When I had college football and I could progress. I made up like everyone I knew. I think both of you were in that game. Literally, like everyone I knew had. I made them as a player in college football, and then progressed them into the NFL. At which point, I could only draft so many of them, so they ended up all over the NFL. I did the same thing with Major League Baseball one year. Like, I made a bunch of people that I knew, but I couldn't keep them all on my team. Eventually, if you played long enough, people started requesting trades or something, and or maybe I decided to trade some of them, and I had to let some of them play elsewhere in the league. And it was funny to watch them like go from being awesome to just their numbers.
So, a couple good things in the chat box. We got. Have you ever gone to LA to catch a game?
We have.
We
Chris
all
and I
have.
were there, and Chris and I were there, and were you there too, TJ? You were, weren't you?
Yeah.
That was back
2007 Gold Cup.
2007 Gold Cup. I've
2007,
also, and I've also been out there for Galaxy and a Chivas USGA game. Believe it or not, I saw both teams. I saw Red Bulls with Thierry Henry against Beckham and Galaxy in the playoffs on a weeknight, and they had to like get special permission from whatever school that is, Cal State University, whatever.
Dominguez, right?
Yes, that they had to get special permission.
Hills,
they had to get special permission to have more than 6,000 tickets sold for that night because it was a weeknight and there's classes, and that takes away parking. So that they actually had to fight over that one. So let's see. I saw somebody mentioning NYCFC getting a stadium. Yeah, it's going to be a few years. I saw them talking about Red Bull Arena and how many years that took. If it's done in New York, it's still 5-6 years away just because there's so many hoops to go through to get that done anyway. But if they do, good for them. Gets them out of Yankee Stadium. Nothing wrong with that. Let me see what other cool things in the chat box. Oh, Bobby Wood to MLS. I did see something about that. Suppose we could talk about that.
That's right. I forgot we were going to talk about that.
It's fine if he's going to play because he's not playing now. I'd rather him stay in Germany and go back to Union or somewhere. Just take the drop now. But if he needs to play somewhere because he's not really playing now, I guess MLS is fine. So you probably make a bunch of money here.
And so somebody asked a question of, could an MLS team be an all U.S. team be competitive in MLS?
Yeah.
What?
Like Chivas is all
Mexican made it.
No internationals.
I mean, if you got like some really good players from Europe to come back, maybe.
Well, I mean, there are a number of players who, when you say no international players, you mean none who play overseas. Like Clint Dempsey could still be. No, Michael Bradley.
As in none that come from Costa Rica, Honduras, Mexico, anywhere else.
Yeah.
All
so
U.S.-based
what
players.
What I'm saying is like, Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Clint Dempsey, Jordan Morris, Tim Howard,
sure.
Braguzan. There are a bunch of guys from the national team who most recently from the national team at least, who are either still in MLS, back in MLS, whatever. I guess I'm misunderstanding the question. Are we saying they would compete in MLS? Or are we saying
we're saying
yes, they would compete
internationally?
The problem with it, I think if we did that, everyone would go, "What a stupid idea."
Yeah,
I think the question is
because it is kind of a stupid idea that Chivas does it. I think, but maybe that plays a lot better in Mexico than it does here. So
you know what? When I was at the University of Minnesota, that used to be the case with hockey under Don Lucia. That's how far this is 20 years ago. That up until then, they had only used players from Minnesota. And then they brought in, God, I can't remember the guy who just left, but he started bringing in players from and they won 2 or 3 national championships in his first 5 or 6 years. I think it was just, more like Chivas, where it's all player, but in this case, it'd be all players from the United States, not players who have been or whatever. You still got to think salary cap and that kind of thing. Could you build an entire team without bringing in foreigners at all? That was kind of the question. And would it be competitive, or would it be more like, the Fire?
I think you could, and I think it would absolutely be competitive. Now, if you put in the to meet the salary, but because it might be hard to get Altidore, Bradley, and Dempsey all in the same. Did Pat just leave?
I'm here.
In the same. Okay, all in the same team with their salaries, and then you add the option for any of the other guys who are also in the league. But I mean, you've still got guys like Paul Arriola, who I think are highly likely to be future members of the team who are still in MLS. Tyler Adams.
Have you guys discussed either the Schalke Dortmund match?
We have not yet.
Or Fußball Club Cincinnati.
Oh, yikes.
Should we do one of those before we go?
We can do both.
Yes,
We can do both of them.
We can do both. I will say, Football Club Cincinnati. Apparently, they did it because they were rejecting that it's actually Football Club Cincinnati. Like currently, it already is, I guess.
You know what I hate about if they want to make that the official name of the club, I think it's fine. But what I hate about MLS is the mandate that the announcers say the full name of the club for some of these. Like when Columbus Crew added SC, and they were making or FC Dallas or Toronto FC. Just say the city like they do everywhere else, and it's fine. I don't care what you call it. And the having that as the official name of the club as sort of a nod to that city's German history is pretty cool. But if you're going to make everybody say it on first reference or on every reference for that matter, it's stupid. So I hope that
I don't think it'd be that way. I think it'll be kind of what it is now. It'll be FC Cincinnati.
That's fine.
Like Toronto, it's Toronto Football Club, but yet they go by Toronto FC. So
or
something
just
like
I call them Toronto usually. Yeah. So it's whatever.
I tend to agree with you. I think it's kind of a cool thing that they did do that. I just think of Chris. You live outside of Milwaukee. If they did something like that in Milwaukee,
it would be cool in Milwaukee too, because another city obviously.
I don't think I would like it then either. When the talk was that we were getting an MLS team, 15 years ago, whatever. There were a lot of ideas of ways to like work in Germanic things, which I liked, playing off the heritage of the city.
It depends on how you do it.
But it's not. I don't know. I don't like foosball for the same reason I don't like listening to people call it football, because there's something wrong with just saying soccer. Like, we had a word for it. There's nothing wrong with it. Stop thinking that it was a problem to say that word because it doesn't seem cool enough to like the Euro snobs at the bar or whatever. Like most of those people are brand new to this and don't know what the hell they're talking about anyway. So who cares? I guess where I get upset about these things is it's too many like Johnny come latelys trying to impress people when they do this. And that's the stuff that just annoys me. Like, look, we had a perfectly serviceable word. Why do we need to call it something else?
And I don't know that we need to keep naming teams after European teams. You know, like Real Salt Lake is still incredibly stupid to me. But if Chattanooga ever gets a team, they have to be Locomotive Chattanooga.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm surprised they are now. I'm surprised
that would be awesome.
Their USL team should do it, or whatever league they're going to go into next. And
pardon me, boys. The Locomotive.
All right, now that we've derailed this one completely. I guess we could talk about Dortmund getting jack stomped, but
oh my god, are they bad?
We've done that before. We just did that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean,
jack stomped by
Bayern. Talk positive real quick. How cool was it that two Americans were playing in that game at the same time when McKinney came on? That's awesome, but it's just Dortmund is just a mess, and they shouldn't be. Much like Arsenal, their defending is horrific. And
but they need just way too much talent out there to be as bad as they are.
Right. It's I don't understand. So,
do we want to talk about anything with the International Champions Cup or whatever? Seeing that seems like that was finally announced.
Speaking of Dortmund, I'm probably going to that match.
I won't be. I get no interest in it. If it was part of my season ticket package for the Fire, sure, I'll go. But it's not, so I don't care.
The only problem is they jack the prices up on those things. So
it's going to be ridiculous.
Incredibly high.
I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day about like how much teams make off of this. And Arsenal always, except for a couple of years ago when they came to the US, they always go to Asia for their preseason warm-up games. And supposedly it's because they make so much more money there. And I just have to question, like, how much are they getting better kickbacks in Asia? Do they really charge that much more? Because like every other soccer game in the entire world, the tickets are like a tenth of the price of going to a single game in the US. So I'm curious how anyone is making more money somewhere else. That's maybe off topic, but
That said,
this is my feeling.
I will be going to, and I think you will too,
Yeah.
Chris. Dortmund, Man City. I think either way, but maybe I would probably
my
purchase.
Pulisic jersey will be here.
Oh, did you order one when they had the sale?
I did. My birthday was over the weekend. I got myself a birthday present and purchased a Dortmund Pulisic jersey.
Yellow?
Yes. So there you go, Alex. I think it was. I'm pretty sure you were the one saying that you don't see other kids wearing Pulisic jerseys. Not that I'm a
This
kid,
kid
but
does.
This kid's got a Pulisic jersey on the way.
My son's got 3. Black, yellow, and the US. It's so. I mean, I suppose there's a small chance that by July 20th or so, he will be playing elsewhere.
There is that.
Now we're talking about the curse of Combs, which means he's going to Liverpool.
Which
Liverpool's
playing at the Big House in Ann Arbor against, I think, Man United. Is that right? Which isn't a big enough draw for me to go over there. But if he were playing for Liverpool, I would probably
sway my feelings as well.
The problem is we have to buy the tickets before these transactions.
Well, technically, you don't have to. You could just pay five times face value.
I'll let you. Yeah. On a side note, I'll let you guys know if I get pre-sale on any of these being with season ticket holder at the Fire. I think I do.
Yeah, that's cool.
Ben says Pulisic's going to Bayern. I still say if he's got to go anywhere, that's the best fit.
Yep.
Bayern or Liverpool, I'd feel. I was previous to this year saying that Liverpool felt like a step down from Dortmund, but the way things are right now, maybe not. So Liverpool, Bayern both feel like places that he would do well. Otherwise, I think he stays put. I think he should stay put.
Flipper says he's hoping Pulisic doesn't go to Liverpool as a United fan. I'm hoping he doesn't go to it as a human being.
No, I think my
feelings about Liverpool.
Klopp is a big redeeming factor there, though.
It's pretty awesome, I gotta say.
Like Klopp makes that so much more palatable for me if he goes there. He makes I enjoy watching them, and he's awesome. So,
I guess we've talked about that. I do recall that conversation about Pulisic where he'd be better suited. The thing is, we kept thinking his role with Dortmund was going to keep expanding and keep growing, and he was going to keep growing into it, which he had every step of the way. And now he's not doing that. Now he's kind of lost in the shuffle, which you could make the argument every player on that team is lost in the shuffle.
Right. No, he's got a bigger role this year. He's got a bigger role this year than he had last year. But it feels like he's lost because everyone's lost on that team right now. So Alex asked if Tuchel comes to Chelsea, should Pulisic sign for Chelsea? I feel like Tuchel's going to PSG now. Isn't that kind of?
I think that's pretty much
correct.
At least that's where the rumors all say.
Yeah, that's where everything's pointed. Who's going to want Dortmund's job right now?
Somebody will.
Oh, I still think there are people who want it. I mean, it's still a pretty high-profile job. It's still high end of a good league. I
feel like
a high likelihood that you're playing in Champions League on a regular basis.
I feel like Dortmund is becoming nothing more than the German version of Monaco in the French league.
It kind of feels that way. Yeah.
Well, to some extent, they always were.
Needs to hydrate.
I mean, they're not quite like Schalke's level where it's like, oh yeah, no, we build these guys up and let them go, but they're just kind of a step above that,
Bayern really picked up we're going to buy your people after Dortmund won those couple of Bundesliga titles 6 or 7 years ago now.
Lewandowski and Götze, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wenger to Dortmund.
Oh my God.
Okay, so hang on. So we have 2 Arsenal fans here. Arsenal apologists will even go that far. If Wenger went to Dortmund, would Dortmund be relegated?
Not immediately. Much like I don't say that Arsenal will immediately be relegated should Wenger stay, period. Well. But will they get better? No. Will they get worse? Yes.
Long term, and even like any managerial change, if Wenger were to go somewhere else, there might be an initial spark where they're better for a while. But and to be fair, no one is going to give him what he has at Arsenal. No one is going to give him the level of control over the board. I mean, imagine that. Seriously, nobody gets that. Mourinho doesn't have that level of control. It's absurd. He's there until he wants to leave. And you keep, today I heard rumors that they're Sven and the other people on Arsenal's front office who want to make a change eventually are lining one up. But ultimately it comes down to Wenger and Stan, and I don't see either one of them not bringing Wenger back next year, but maybe we'll get lucky.
Anonymity is talking about all these Wenger out signs and protests.
Oh, it's
They're
hilarious.
Awesome.
That's the best part of the whole thing.
That has actually exceeded my favorite thing to see in group shots. Is it took away from the
John 3:16 or something.
No, the Washington State flag that shows up at College Game Day and has every time they've had it. It could be at West Point. Somebody still brings that flag, and they actually ship it to the site so somebody can fly one. But yeah, Wenger out at the March for Our Lives, and that's just absolutely outstanding. It needs to show up everywhere. It needs to show up all the time.
I keep meaning to put it on the scarves behind the shot on this show, but I always forget to do it.
Well, since the Deuce face is gone, you've kind of lost a little bit there, Pat.
I was going to put the shitting Messi in the background of the shot too, but
I gotta. Once I get some things set up, I will someday bring back the background with Deuce face and everything else.
In all my
class, it would always fall. People would. Part of the early USFanTV drinking game was to figure out when it would fall.
Oh, let's see. Alex is saying Dortmund almost got relegated a few years ago. Was that that was last season? They were in the relegation zone around Christmas, or was it 2 seasons ago? And then they went on.
Not last season. It was two or three now at this point. It was Klopp still. So.
And then they went on and won the Europa League, didn't they? Or not Europa League, the German Cup. I think they went on and won a trophy. They won, I think the German Cup when it was all said and done. The Pokal.
They won that last year. The blasphemy about Messi. It's considered in Catalonia to be very honorable to have a statue made of him taking it down.
It's a Christmas thing. A lot of their Christmas festivities somehow involve shit.
It's like I came up with it. I didn't.
Mike asked, do you guys see the MLS ever becoming like the NBA in popularity and having general interest?
No.
I don't. I won't say no. I don't see why it's not possible.
Anonymity is the name.
My point is often when I have conversations about this, 30 years ago, we thought the NFL was going to die. Nobody would have predicted that it would be where it is now. MLS doesn't have the financial setup, nor the traditional draw to do those things yet. But could it in the future? I don't see why not. I mean, I do expect as it gets more money, there will be better players. There will be more people who come in. There are things that are going to. I would expect it to grow going forward. Does that mean it will ever become a top 3 or 4 sport in the U.S.? I don't know. I don't see why it can't do it. I don't think it's impossible. I'm not going to say it's like highly likely, but
I think the sport is a top 3 or 4 sport right now.
Perhaps, yeah.
If you're separating the sport from MLS is not there, but the sport is for sure. So I more people watch and care about soccer than hockey, and I like hockey. I say that that's not a slight against hockey, but soccer is bigger than hockey. People don't realize it because the league where we have soccer in this country isn't probably bigger than the NHL. So
yeah, but I mean, you're still talking. It's not in the big 3. It's not football. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. And I football and basketball specifically, especially when you combine the college games in with them.
I mean, football's dying though slowly, but it is with the CTE stuff. So
football's running into the same problem. I think this is something I keep mentioning would be a whole show in and of itself. Fans get priced out, and that I think because they're trying to maximize every dollar, because that's almost a sport in and of itself. How much money can they make in the process? they do that, and they've priced out the fan, and so the fan base, I'm guessing 20 years from now, is not going to be nearly as passionate about any team.
Yeah.
They are then, because you don't have people that have had season tickets forever. And what was the Arsenal book that got butchered by the Farrelly brothers into a Red Sox movie?
Fever Pitch.
Fever Pitch.
Yeah,
Yes.
Fever Pitch. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have those. I don't think you have those fans anymore in the top league, in Major League Baseball, in the NBA, in the NFL. You're not going to have as many of those because people can't afford those tickets anymore. I mean, people who maintain season tickets, like for the Packers and Bears, things like that, those who don't have more money than God, what they do is they sell the big games each year to pay for them. And it waters it down.
And that's one thing that Germany gets absolutely right, is they realize that atmosphere is part of what they're selling. And so reducing the price of some of the seats in order to create the atmosphere that they're looking for is a huge trade-off. It makes it a more valuable product on TV. When you see fans going crazy, waving flags, the yellow wall or any other giant safe standing section that they have, it makes it cooler. And you can still sell other tickets for a lot of money, just not those.
Well, and the other part of it is what is seen on camera, and those Yankee Stadium being the classic example. All those seats behind home plate are empty every night because they're all corporate seats, and it's not a good atmosphere until the playoffs, and then it's fine. But
it's probably because it's not a good team.
Well, that too. But you look at Atlanta United.
Wasn't commenting on the quality of play.
No, if Yankee Stadium got bombed, I probably wouldn't feel too incredibly bad about it. But,
Jesus Christ.
You know what I think the worst part of this, Pat, is? I don't think any of us are drinking tonight.
No.
But my kind of where I was going to go with this is
YouTube host holding baby advocates for terror attack in New York.
I said if it happened, I wouldn't feel bad about it. That's all I said. But my kind of the point I was going to go towards is when you go to a game, you got to pay for a ticket, you got to pay to park, you've got to pay for food and anything else you want to get there. If you keep squeezing everybody on every turn, ultimately people don't go. You look at Atlanta United, you can get your food cheap.
And
things like look at things like so I don't know. That's just me. So.
Zero Anonymity wants me to talk about the ref and that Madrid penalty. I assume you mean the Madrid-Juventus game. We talked about that
we did on the show.
The week before. I tend to agree that it actually was a penalty. It's just convenient that it's like always Madrid getting saved by a referee. But
that, from a referee's perspective, where he's positioned, that's going to be a penalty every time.
Yeah.
I'll say there is some balls to calling that penalty at the time he did. Where I thought he was wrong is when Buffon came on blue.
Yeah.
You have to let him. You can't. That's where you can't go, oh, I'm going to throw him out because he said some naughty words. You know what? Sometimes you let him vent and then you move on. That I think was the worst part of it. And I get it. I'm sure Buffon said a whole lot of words he shouldn't have said, but at the same time, suck it up. So I did not laugh as planes flew towards the building. Yikes. Chris did. I didn't.
Oh, stop. God.
Somebody asked about Ready Player One. I haven't seen it because I want to read the book first. But I'm looking forward to it.
What is that?
The book is great. It's a movie that is based on a book, and the book is supposed to be phenomenal, and I keep meaning to read it, and I haven't read it. But
lots of movies are based on books. What
movies?
What is it?
It's called Ready Player One, and it's some sort of video game fantasy world that they're in. That's the extent of my knowledge. But people keep telling me you need to read it, and I don't want to see the movie and then read the book because then that's the backwards way of doing it. So.
I know Chris can't read. I didn't know you could. I'm kind of impressed.
I do read. I have a Kindle even.
Yeah, but that's so you can play video games.
No, it's just for reading. I don't have the Fire. I have just the one that the Paperwhite.
Oh.
How do I flag this video for hate speech? Don't, TJ. We'll just fire him. You'll actually we should have TJ Sala replace TJ as
TJ versus
on the
TJ.
show. Yeah.
I'm getting a little testy. It says zero anonymity. All right, I think we've reached it. Unless anybody has some more. Yeah, yeah. I forgot that I was running this actually. Anybody got anything else to discuss? Have we hit it all?
We should probably talk about the Concacaf Champions League game next week is Wednesday, which means maybe we'll do something Tuesday. Maybe we won't. Did you leave? You're back.
No, my iPad's dying, so
we'll figure out. Just like you found us, you managed to find us on a Wednesday, like it's 2016. You'll find us.
I'd say let's aim for
next week at some point.
Let's probably aim for Thursday. I would think
I would think that's probably the most logical because the game's pretty late on Wednesday. I think so. I think we'll be here next Thursday. If I had to
every time you don't curse out a ref, the terrorists win.
That is true. That is a fact.
So it says zero anonymity. I can't disagree.
You know what we need?
All right,
we need a night where the chat box is only zero anonymity and Leipzig.
Leipzig doesn't show up all the time anymore, but
yeah,
anonymity's
Leipzig
here.
hasn't been around a while. All right, Pat, any last words?
You have to do the social media.
Why?
You're not doing the social media.
We have gotten to it after you said something.
You don't do last words before you do the social media. You have to do the social media and then you do the
I can run this show how I want to run this show.
All right. Go ahead. Do it whatever do it. I don't have anything else to say. I'll just tune in for the rest of the show. I'm just a passive listener at this point.
TJ, any last words?
We have social media. We have
sure.
We have YouTube week because you're already here. We have Twitter. We do not have Snapchat because we hate Snapchat, except for Chris because Chris actually has Snapchat.
Secretly.
And we're on Craigslist, but you have to know where to find it. Is that right, Pat? Did I miss anything?
Well, I don't think we're on Craigslist anymore because aren't the feds shutting down all those types of sites? We have to find a new site. Yeah, we have to find a new site.
Pages.
We have a Facebook page in theory, but it was probably sold to the Russians a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have Facebook, and we don't plan on stealing your information. I said I was going to shut up.
At this point, I think you guys touched on all. You didn't mention Instagram, so there you go. We are replete with social media channels.
We have MySpace.
No MySpace. Alas. Yeah, all that said, we are normally here Tuesdays and Thursdays, of course, because of Champions League. We were not here last night. Excuse me, we're normally here Tuesdays these days.
I was going to say, to be fair, we haven't done 2 shows in a week in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. We'll see you here on Tuesday, and you're done.
You have to.
Thanks, everybody.
Hit stop.